Hey everyone, so with coronavirus happening, we've all been wondering what is going on with the ESL Pro Tour for StarCraft 2. We were supposed to have our next offline event actually like in a week or two at Dallas, but of course that can't happen anymore, and they also announced a cancellation of a lot of the events already up until like September or October or something like that. So what was going to happen with ESL Pro Tour? Well, we finally got some information today, basically just 30 minutes before I'm recording this. Not all the information, but some of it. And in this video, I'm going to go ahead and go over it with you guys while I also try and like understand what this means for StarCraft 2 and for, well, the community, casters, fans, all that good stuff. So let's go into the announcements from ESLgaming.com first and foremost, and then we'll also talk about the Team Liquid article that was also there to supplement. So let's go over to this. More websites need to use dark mode. Official. So this is the more official announcements coming from the actual websites of the people creating this. So this goes over StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3, but sorry, Warcraft 3, I don't know anything or care that much, so we're just going to be talking about StarCraft 2. So again, like, we were supposed to have at least 3 more tournaments, if not 4 or 5, really. We're supposed to happen offline, but aren't happening anymore. There's an unannounced global event happening later this year that apparently is still happening. There was supposed to be basically confirmed Leipzig next year, and then Katowice still happening next year. Anything starting in 2021 is still happening as of now, but could change in the future. So this is all about 2020. So yeah, return to offline events expected in 2021, even they say that. So instead of the 3 tournaments that we get very familiar with, a lot of the ESL system was, not based off of, but found that the WCS system did it well enough to go ahead and copy it. We now have these things online. So instead of Dallas, we now have summer. And instead of Valencia, I believe it was, we have fall, and Montreal, I guess, we replaced winter, kind of along those lines, even if the seasons don't actually match up. So each season will consist of 6 regional divisions. So you have a lot of divisions, you have a lot of regions coming into one tournament, which is, how it's been. Except a lot of these things were played online to get to the goal of offline, but not anymore. So we have a nice little graphic here. In the Team Liquid article, hello Apollo, they talked about each division having been determined by analysis of player pool depth of different regions, a Ligilac, and an internal evaluation scheme. Something along those lines. Were used to determine how many slots go to different regions, which is fair enough. At some point, you really do just have to be the judge who cracks the hammer down and says, look, this is how it's going to go. So this is how it's going to go. Europe gets the most players. They get 8 invites and 24 qualifiers. And then it shows also how people get back in when it comes to the next Masters that happens. I mean, North America was 16, so half the players, half the invites, half the qualifiers. Latin America and Oceania and China and Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, all that, also 8 players. So, 32, half, and then half for like everyone else. So 2 invites for those guys with 8 players and 6 qualifiers. And this goes over about a 6-week period as well. So each region actually also gets a different format, which is a bit interesting to see. I guess different formats not really totally correct. Basically, they're just explaining how it's going to work with different numbers of players. So not too important, but generally player round robin groups with top qualification and then double elimination bracket. Okay, yeah. So season finals is also something that's going to be a bit new. This actually is new for the grand scheme of things, it's new. But for people who have been around since like the very beginning of StarCraft back in 2013, this actually was a thing. This was, it basically was panned for being unnecessary. So you would have the GSL finals, and then you would have whatever finals are happening for North America and Europe, WCS, back when it was a very different system, and they would all come together basically a week after all their finals, and they'd all play in another finals. So you'd have this weird thing where like someone was crowned champion of GSL, and then because Koreans were definitely better, they'd be another crowned Korean player basically right afterwards, and it was like, this doesn't really feel like it's that glamorous. But for this particular circumstance, this actually makes more sense than it did back then. So you have all of these winners coming through here into a season finals global competition. Once regional divisions conclude, best players are crowned. They'll take their top finishing players to compete for season champion. And that includes players from South Korea, because South Korea is really untouched as far as I can see here. Their GSL is actually continuing like normal, even though they don't have a crowd, but they're still able to do everything like normal, where we would have to depend a lot more on the rest of the world has to depend a lot more on those offline situations that just can't happen anymore. So South Korea comes in along with everyone else. Format is GSL groups, that makes sense. And then also top 2 qualify, and then a double elimination bracket from non out. So a lot of double elimination brackets, which is cool. I mean, that's the most fair for players, also a lot of StarCraft. This graphic confused me initially, so if it confuses you as well, let me just point out what confused me. So this explains Masters. This explains the Summer Masters, and then it kind of does this thing like an L thing, and it's like, all right, this is what the Masters Summer version will look like, as well as the dates. So we're starting June 10th, ending July 19th, and that includes the global competition. And then we go into a season break, and then fall will probably look a lot like this. I get confused because we're like pointing this way, but yeah. Makes a lot of sense. We have the first dates for the first online big tournament, I guess, of the year, since we didn't really get to start our year. Katowice was always a weird one because it's next year it's going to be the global finals, but this year it really wasn't, whatever. So anyways, that'll start soon. Basically after TSL is kind of what seems to be the agreed upon start. They want to get that done and over with because it's taking up a lot of the weekends. All right, so this is the Katowice Global Finals as originally designed. 36 players, 7 global regions, round of 24 and round of 36. You know, we had the same thing as this year, and actually years before that. So anyways, it says how many people get seeds. Korea gets a lot of seeds here. Probably this is going to be a Korean player, but you also have the Global StarCraft 2 Masters, which is another event being put on in 2021 before Katowice that we don't know exactly what it is going to be, but it's going to be global is all we know. Each regional division will compete for Pro Tour points across 3 seasons to qualify for Katowice. In total, there are this many positions. This breakdown is going to be a lot more important when it comes to actually getting into Katowice. So I'm just going to a little glimpse on that one. You guys can check this out yourself, of course, and really dig deep into it, but moving along, we have the ESL Open Cup. So this has been happening and has been a great success. Lots of players signed up for Europe and North America. Korea, not as much, but still a lot of dedicated players looking to grab just a couple of extra points to boost themselves over what could have been like a 100-point difference, and you only end up being 19th instead of, if you're one seed, you get what I mean. Then maybe it would push you over and actually get to those global finals. Well, they've been a great success, and now to accommodate for the weirdness that is this entire year, they're also going to be increased prize pool from $100 to $300, so quite a big increase. They're also moving from Sunday to Monday, so if you guys have gotten used to watching all the tournaments happen on Sunday, I guess it depends kind of on your region, but the point is on Sunday, now it's going to be on Monday, and that's starting very soon, basically this week. That makes sense, not just because the TSL is happening, but because they're also going to put all of their the masters that we were just talking about are also going to be done a lot on the weekends, so it makes sense to just move that as a whole instead of just being like, well, this weekend it is and this weekend it isn't. Makes a lot of sense. Also, there's going to be room for other tournaments to play out on the weekend, which is always preferable in terms of getting the most players and the most viewership and all that good stuff by doing this. So that's nice, and they still keep the same EPT points, but they also have a 3rd, 4th place prize now, which is cool. I think they divvied up between 1st and 2nd. It used to be winner take all, and then that got changed pretty quickly, but now we have all the way to 4th place. Cool. So the prize pool is still, for each season, there is about $240,000 divvied up like so. Again, kind of going like Europe, and then half again. Where I guess Latin America gets a bit of a bigger boost. But season final is also paying out quite a bit, and that includes Korea as well. Okay, and then you can look into a further detailed graphic, it looks like, going back to the original announcement. And then this is Warcraft 3. So there's the gist. Then we can move on to this Team Liquid article. They worked hand in hand with ESL, with Apollo, to do this, which is really cool. And they have a little bit more tidbits and more... they actually got Apollo's insight into some of these things. So I read through this, mostly the same deal, but we do have such things as like 25% of the player pool of each region will be invited based on EPT standings. So those are the invites. We didn't really get an answer for that, but those are invites, are based off EPT standings. We get the acknowledgement of weaknesses. One concern, Apollo admitted, potential weakness of the system is non-Korean players currently residing in Korea. So it gets really messy for people. Basically, Scarlet, No Regret, Special, and then whoever else might be over there right now. I think there might be some other people, but those are the ones staying in Korea, for an extended period of time. But they will allow them to compete both in Korea and in their home region. Apollo stressed they have to compete in the server designated for each division. So they can't, if they want to play in North America, they can't be like, hey, North American ping sucks, like, let's play in Korea. The other concern is that ESL would eat up too much broadcast time. So this has actually been a topic for years. Blizzard has actually, back when Blizzard was really more in control of the tournament, Blizzard was actually like, hey, what if we did this thing? What if we actually did, like, this huge, big event that spanned this many weeks? And all the online organizers were like, well, then we get screwed and we can't do anything. There's different reasons to why it wouldn't really work out anyways. It wasn't like just us shouting and they were like, oh, okay, I guess not. There's other reasons, but it was one of those things that you have to be worried about. So specifically, they bring up Wardy's Online Cups. So we have so many tournaments happening all the time from so many different people that all have really good players too. A chance for the guys not in the round of 16 to actually make some money. So it's nice that they address this. And this was part of the reason they also moved the online cups, those open cups. They also said that they will consult with a number of them, the smaller tournament organizers, I guess, and plan to involve them in coverage of the new divisions and qualifiers instead of their own streams. They were working with ESL and then compensated like they would if they went to an offline event type deal. And then more information. As about point allocation, Apollo for the season finals, Apollo says ESL wants players to earn the majority of their points in the regular regional divisions as opposed to season finals, so they want that to be more of a glamorous prize money thing, as opposed to the EPT points being just stacked on top of people who are good at the time. Can be saying mostly similar, and then what we already talked about for the ESL Open Cup. So that covers it as far as we know. More information will be provided after Team Liquid Star League, and that's just from Twitter. Apollo's been responding to pro gamers who are asking questions, which is really cool of them. My, and that more information includes a lot of different things, like who exactly is going to be invited and what dates for the rest of the tournaments that are happening this year, more information possibly about that open global thing in 2021. And then for me, I'm also concerned as to who is actually going to be streaming and casting all this stuff. So the only thing they mentioned is that they've been working with online tournament organizers to stream some of these things, these 5 to 6 week qualifiers and main events and season finals type stuff. They haven't mentioned how that's really going to go down. I mean, I find it highly unlikely that it's going to be literally just Wardy doing everything, but I find it likely that he will be doing a decent amount of those things. It will be a trade-off for any caster to be paid directly versus not streaming on their own channel. So there will be something there that has to be figured out, but this is very different than what it used to be, which is that you would have qualifiers cast by basically anyone. They usually open qualifiers that are open to anyone to cast. And then you would have maybe Challenger, right? Last year was in studio, but not always. Previous years, they have also been more online or just smaller setups. And then eventually you would get to the big tournament where we'd have 5 casters typically. Cast with a host and a stage host. That obviously can't really happen here, but it would be really sucky if this all became an online free-for-all, whoever wants to cast it, right? It takes away a decent amount of prestige, and it also takes away very greedy. I know that's very selfish of me to say, but it also takes away the income that some people have started to depend on. Now, all of us have streams, which are doing pretty well thanks to you guys, so that's really appreciated. But of the most casters, just generally, want to be on that prestigious offline event stage, getting paid the big bucks, and casting with their buddies in this really like this blowout tournament type situation. And that just can't really happen here. And it also means that we can't be paid in the same way, or like we're not specialized in the same way. We reach that next level, because I mean, what is the next level? If everything is online, it gets a little murky. So I am very selfishly most interested in seeing how this is going to be broadcast, what the plans are to bring in different casters, if there are any, if it'll actually just be like a free-for-all, everyone do what you want. I can't imagine that's what it's going to be, but to keep the prestige of an offline tournament is really difficult to do. There's just so many other things that go into it. But that's what I'm concerned about, right? Is not getting it was still infrequent, but now it's even a bigger question mark. There's always a question mark if we're going to be hired for an event, but now it's even bigger question mark. Or maybe it'll be less of a question mark once everything is determined. Maybe it'll actually be so many StarCraft events happening, although all online, that there's plenty of love to give around. And, you know, it'll be nicer because we don't have to travel and whatnot, especially for the Australian guys. I don't know, but that is my main concern, a very selfish concern, I know. For fans, this means that you guys just get a lot more StarCraft. But yeah, the prestige and the fairness of offline tournaments are going to just not be available, really. So they're going to have to do something to make it special, make it feel special, and not just like a long-running online tournament. As good as those are to have in StarCraft, there's nothing that really just beats the feeling of these major stops. So it'll be interesting to see how they tackle that issue. And for players, this means a heck of a lot of consistent playing in tournaments. Possibly even like too much, because not only are they playing in here, but they're playing in every other online cup that's happening. Casters can kind of pick and choose, but the players want to play in everything ever possible. They always try and do that. They're also going to have to worry about, obviously a big worry is the fairness of the server. So you're just going to have to basically say it won't always be fair, but this is what we have to do for this year. And again, this is leading up until at least 2021. They might open up, they said somewhere in here, they said they might open up a bit more depending on the circumstances, but I figure with that, they mean more like we might open up ideas to having an offline studio broadcast with top 8 players being, you know, flown in type thing, because then it's only a skeleton crew and 12 guys, right? That could be something we could see later this year as things progress, but it's not something that we should be expecting. Just expect everything to be online. So that does it. The 4 offline master events turn into 3 seasons of online 6-week tournaments leading to a global season championships, whatever they want to call it, but Korea starts to get included as well. Korea mostly the same, except for those season finals, and ESL Open Cups continuing with heavier prize pool and moving to Monday. So that's the information we got, and then we're gonna have to wait for more information after TSL 5 finalizes, which is going to be about in June. Yeah, so sometime between the last cast of TSL 5 and the start of these qualifiers, I guess we'll get more information. So okay. And the summary here, I guess, the end of this video is that I think it's the best thing that we can possibly have happen. I don't know what else they could do. Even if they had a ton of money, you know, we're working within constraints of something that is just not... We're never going to have to do it again, probably, and we've never done it in the past, right? 100 years ago, Spanish flu didn't have to worry about esports, okay? So... This is what we got, and I think it's totally fine. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about this. I just am looking forward to really getting into the nitty-gritty details and actually getting this done. The first Summer Masters might feel and look really weird, but then it'll hopefully improve for the rest of the year. And there you go. What do you guys think? What do you guys think could actually be improved? Apollo's answering questions on Twitter, basically as I'm speaking right now, so you can always ask him. Yeah, stay safe and healthy, guys. This is a weird year, but this is still going to be a year with a fuck ton of StarCraft, so that's the good news. Thanks for watching this video, and yeah, let's converse down in the comments. I want to know some of your more thought-out opinions, so yeah. I'll see you guys on stream and on some of these broadcasts. Bye-bye.